hard training. Also, the first mission doesn't really go as you would expect. Me, myself, I didn't expect what happened, so I don't really think the reader will do either or also. The third book talks about the 6 important missions of the Baker team, and of course, about the last one. The book is really, really disturbing. I wrote horror tales and novels all my life, and here you can really feel the kind of writer I really am. In the end, Rambo will have some kind of vengeance, but a really bitter one. And this last book, that's the real masterpiece of my life. Not a masterpiece itself, but the best thing I have ever written. That really puts the reader inside the mind of the people. That saw a lot of friends dying and finally losing in the war. I am really proud of having written this book. No matter what they will have success, no matter if they have success or not, it doesn't really matter. And that's true, Wallace. You know, sometimes it's not necessarily about proving it to yourself, but sometimes just getting it out there, just knowing it's out there, is much more worth it than receiving the riches for it or receiving fame for it. I myself, I was in music for since 1996. I've been in the music game till 2012 is when I retired from the music game. But you know, I never did it because I expected something in return. I kind of did it because I wanted to pay forward what was done for my appreciation. You know, like so many bands that wrote music that saved my life, and to kind of give it back so that, you know, if someone is far away and you know, they know how they know how I felt, and maybe it will help them, you know, which is really cool. You know, I've had people tell me, oh, you know, I thought I was the only person that felt this way until I, you know, heard what you were doing, and it kind of helped me to help myself. And that's great, you know, that's great. You gotta do it because you love it, and you gotta do it because it fills your life with better purpose. You know, you can't do it for the material side of it, you know. And that's one of the beauties of art, in my opinion. Okay, where am I here? I just kind of lost where I was. Okay, yes. Question number 11. The translation must have been a feat in itself. You did such a great job. What was it like to translate the book? Wallace writes, he. You will have a laugh now. I paid a professional translator. Okay, that's pretty cool. I still give you credit for that one though, Wallace. I still give you credit, even though I just said about 5 minutes ago that, you know, you handled the translation really well. I still gotta give you credit because you still had to look over it, right? So Wallace continues to write, even using a professional UK-born translator, we had to work together 2 months to translate the first 2 chapters of my book, because fiction is really difficult to translate. You have to know what you don't write is much more important than what you do write. So the translator has to know and understand the deepest secrets of what he is translating. So I had to work with him a lot, but he was good, a real pro, and made an awesome job. And he did. He did. It's really, really, really good. It's really, really good. But I gotta give you credit still because you worked with the person going over it, you know. So you did have final word, and you were in there during the translation process too. And, you know, over 2 months, that's a large span to be working with a translator, for example. But you know what? It still shines through. It's a brilliant work of art, and I love this. You know, so far reading this, the pieces that I've been fortunate to read, this is one of my favorite books. This is going up there with some of my favorite books of all time. You know, if I could take, 20 books to an island, this would be one of them. Okay, question number 12. What made you want to become an author? Wallace writes, a huge imagination. Since I was a kid, I love stories, any stories from movies, books, comics, histories, anything. I like stories, and I always ask myself, how did the author create it? It's something that never stops inside me. You know, Wallace, same thing for me. As a kid, I used to do comic strips. I love to tell stories. I love to write stories. I love to write graphic novels. Since maybe the age of 6, I've been doing it. Or I started doing it maybe around the age of 6. I kind of gave up on the comics around 16, 17. I was still collecting them, but I gave up on writing them and animating them and drawing them. But you know what? I might start that in the future with something called Origins, which is something I've been working on for about 13 years. And once I finally get it in scripted form, I think I'm going to start storyboarding it. Because I've been wondering for a long time now what it would be like as an adult to continue with just a couple of comics, or a set. It's actually a really big story. It crosses many moons of books. But I've always been curious to revisit where I left off as a kid from an adult's viewpoint. So, stay tuned for Origins, because that's coming soon. Sooner or later, I'll have something on that up for you guys. Alright, so, question number 13. How did you become an author? Wallace writes in his answer, I am not famous. I still have to get to a professional level. Anyway, I write on some Guns newspapers here in Italy, and I have published a very little book of short tales under my real name. It had not a lot of success, but received some very good reviews. Well, you know what? I think you do write at a pretty professional level. The things, even if you had a translator doing it for you, translating it for you, I find that you have a really broad imagination, and for you to kind of piece together all these amazing things that you talk about during the book. I don't want to give it away because I want people to read it, but for you to kind of come up with that and fathom that and stitch it together and really dive into the different levels of psychology that you do and the horror aspect that you come up with, especially with that castration scene that Delmore Berry has to listen to all night long. It's like a 10-minute castration scene. It's really hard to take in because you can imagine being there. So that level of writing you have, I already put you on that top-notch level, but keep at it. Imagine how much crazier and amazinger your writing will be in 10 years, So I find that this series that you're working on, the Rambo Year 1 series, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it's a high level of pedigree. It's a very high level of writing. And the subject matter is just really mature, and it's just a really great treat to listen to and to be a part of reading it. It's really good. Good is an understatement. It's fantastic. It's great. I urge everybody to go check out Wallace's channel and just get the book. Just order it already, because by the time it's all translated and it gets out, wow, man, this is going to be a bestseller for sure. Okay, last question. Question number 14. Are you ready for this one? Okay, here we go. Here's the question. Tell us a bit about yourself. Wallace writes, Wallace's answer: I love sports, running, and weightlifting. I really like orienteering too. With any weather, I ran some really grueling orienteering competitions under very bad weather. Rain, snow, wind, everything. You can read a lot of my personal experiences in year one during the selection program that will make Rambo join the Special Forces. When you are really tired, your mind begins to use some really strange kind of jokes. I know these jokes very well and did a very good job in describing them in my book, if I can say so. And it's a great answer because I really do find that when your mind is exhausted, you come up with a lot of creative stuff because you're pushing your mind to that limit, You're working that muscle, you're exercising that muscle. Creative things come from that. I thought that was the last question, but I got a couple else. I forgot that there was 3 more here. I thought I only sent 14, but I sent 17. Okay. Question 15. What was it like to explore the genesis and origins of Rambo? Wallace writes, it was a sad travel in the horrors of war. I don't want to be misunderstood about that. My Rambo fights against the real horrors, as in Rambo 4. There are no cool heroes winning the war alone. In my books, the real Vietnam was not like that. So my book either, my one either would be like that. But there were also soldiers ready to give everything they could. They didn't think to themselves or thought of themselves as heroes, but they were for sure. The thing I did was to tell their stories the best I could, trying to be more near to the reality that exists that I possibly could, which is true. I find that when I was reading, especially that second chapter, I could see the resemblance to Rambo 4 in there. I could see, it's kind of it's a great piece because say if Rambo 4 was the last movie, and say if this was the prequel to First Blood, it's on that same level, It's on that same level. And it really does help to imagine the Rambo we see in First Blood also. It really helps to help get into that mindset. From what I've read, I haven't read the whole thing, and I can't wait to, because I can't wait to get my hands on this once an English version is done. My apologies again that I can't speak Italian. I was actually thinking of taking because Wallace sent me a copy of the Italian version of the first book. I was thinking of taking paragraphs and putting them into the Google Translator, the Google Translator, so I could actually read the whole book. I might end up doing that still, because I think his book is only coming out next year. I think 2015. I think I'll have to ask him about that. But if it's a way I can read the book early, then I'm gonna try and do it. Maybe when I have more time. But yeah, Wallace's the subject matter of this is really instantaneously made me think of Rambo 4 and First Blood. So it's on a very good plateau. It really is the more guerrilla approach, It really shows you more of the down and dirty and degraded style of Rambo 4. How the Rambo 4 didn't hold any punches, it just bam, 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 went through with it, And I could see that when I was reading Wallace's works. Question 16.